So, okay, so it's on. The live is on. So hello everyone, welcome for being here today. So we have the pleasure to welcome Professor Danilo Demarchi for a conference in the scope of IEEE JETCAS Distinguished Lecturer Program. We are the IEEE student branch, Lille student branch, and so we are IEEE student branch that has been created in 2021, and we are based in Lille. We currently count 35 members all around the University of Lille, and we are based. We have two chapters from IEEE, Circuit and System Society, so the one that will represent the current conference, SSCS Society, and we have one club and a Women Engineering Affinity Group. If you want to contact us, you can scan the QR code here or contact us by the email address that are written just under. And first of all, for those that do not know IEEE, it is one of the biggest scientific associations in the world. So it is divided into 10 regions and into 39 technical groups. So on lots of various subjects such as AI, microelectronics, robotics, systems, etc. And it sponsors lots of conferences all over the world. It's also one of the biggest scientific library with more than 5 million papers on IEEE Explore. And today the conference it's sponsored by CAS Society, that is most focused on on all that is around circuits and systems application. It can be theory, analysis, design, etc. CAS sponsored the 23 conference all around the world in 2024, and this conference is part of the Distinguished Lecturer Program. That counts in 2024 20 distinguished lecturers, such as Professor Demarchi, that is full professor at Politecnico di Torino. You are very involved in IEEE activities. For example, you are founder and editor-in-chief of the IEEE Transaction on Agri-Food Electronics. You are also founder and of the IEEE CAS Special Interest Group on Agri-Food Electronics. So all that touch to circuit and system around agri-food, agroalimentary. And your field of research are mostly globally on wearable devices, from biomedical systems to now more agriculture. So thank you, Professor, for being there today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. My pleasure, my honor. I prepared for me some water.
Okay. And I put it.
Thank you so much. It is a great pleasure to be here, to be invited by. I always like to participate to student activities. It's a great always think that our students have they want to be active and organize things. Well, as from the kind introduction that was given, I am a full professor in Politecnico di Torino, leading the group that we call as ELIONS, Electronic Life-Oriented Intelligence Systems. So, as was anticipated, my team is split in two, between one part working on biomedical engineering and the other one working on agri-food now. And I took the idea for my title from the Aerosmith rock band, because they were playing, are playing still, let the music do the talking, and I said, okay, now let's start also to listen to the plants. And I will show you what I mean when I say let the plants do the talking. And my talk today, it is devoted, it's targeting in particular climate smart agriculture. Well, because I'm here representing CAS Society, Circuits and Systems Society. I just spent few words, but most of you or all of you know very much what is IEEE. I want just to point out to some benefits for students that we can have, because, okay, CAS Society, IEEE was already introduced, and in the strategic plan of IEEE, by sure, nowadays is also to open as much as possible to activities that can involve all the world. And we know that in this case, this is why probably they asked me to go around for spreading what circuits and systems can do in agriculture, because agriculture is really a message for everyone, the production of food. But talking about the benefits that you can have if you subscribe to IEEE, you know, publications, and I want to highlight the fact, thank you, that we just started last year with new transactions. Conferences, same, we have plenty of conferences, and also now one specific for agri-food electronics. But what I want to spend few words about these special interest groups, because it is very important for, as students already, to start entering, to be part of this team. Now agri-food electronics is still a special interest group, but after a few years, after the success of the special interest group, this becomes a technical committee. So in this moment, we are still a special interest group on agri-food electronics, but you see plenty of them. So depending on the activities you are doing for your research, please enter, because they are not spammers. They are very interesting networking methodologies for knowing news, for sharing your ideas with people. And by sure, we have different chapters, and you are here. Thank you for coming for a distinguished lecture. As students, you can have plenty of advantages. One advantage that I see that the students do not get too much are the travel grants. So as students, please, you can go to conferences applying to have travel grants helping you, because of course you are in groups, so they can support you, but sometimes, you know, the young students, they have a small budget, so you can be supported by travel grants. And by sure, your research is great, so please apply for having awards. And okay, so you have plenty of possibilities, and now you have contacts. Manager at IEEE-CAS.org, Molly Breaking, now is answering. She's very helpful, very kind. Immediately, she answers you for any of your requests. Now, thank you for listening the introduction to CAS. Let's go now to the topic of today. So, we talk about plants. And I will start from the roots, from the basic concepts that are as engineers, are our specification, okay, what we have to do. Then, knowing the roots, we will move to the strategy, which is the strategy to apply to serve the needs, and after we will collect the fruits of our job. And we will see which are, I will show you some examples in which I'm working, so I can be more complete for them, but of course are just examples. So, starting from the roots. From the roots, we start talking about some definition also done by World Bank Group, and in particular by FAO, because we are talking of agriculture, and we are talking of agriculture because the connection between climate change and agriculture is a double exchange, because positive, but also we know recently negative, because agriculture is the reason of about, depending on where you read it, 15–20% of the generation of greenhouse gases. So huge bad contribution. But from the other side, climate change has a bad impact on agriculture, because the climate that is changing is giving to farmers no more possibilities to understand what to do. So it's very difficult. So, and with electronics, I hope that I will show you today what we can do for really helping both sides. So reducing the effect, the bad effect of agriculture, and reducing and facing the bad effects that climate change can have on agriculture. There is one point that I want to highlight, that is the production well, the waste of food. I will not touch, but I want to mention it because so here, with our sensors, with our competencies, we can help the full chain of the food for avoiding waste. So we talk today of what was named a few years ago, smart or precision agriculture. I really like what FAO, if I'm not wrong, started to introduce, a name climate smart agriculture. So not just to simply to be smart and precise, but also to take care of agriculture, of climate. But we have not just to take care of climate, it's a must, not just because it's a fashion, not just because we love climate, of course, we love our earth, but it is because it's a need and it is a benefit to do it. Because by sure we have to increase productivity. And for increasing productivity, we have to enhance the resilience of our crop against the climate changes. And we have to, from the other side, reduce the emissions. But what I always highlight here is to say, but be aware, we have to be climate aware, we must be very much targeting productivity, but we have to be sustainable for climate, but in parallel, we must be sustainable financially speaking. If we don't do anything, if we do too much expensive devices, nobody will buy them. So the challenge is there to find the best compromise or the best solutions for it. Recently, LinkedIn, the World Economic Forum published this. When I read this video from World Economic Forum, they're saying the 5 technologies that are about to change the world. As scientist, I was curious to go, which are? And I saw that the first one was the one in which I'm working. So you can imagine how much I was happy about it, to discover it. And exactly, they used what me and some other, of course, colleagues around the world started to use a few years ago, wearable plant devices. So I am arriving from, as I said, biomedical engineering, and I moved because I'm living in the countryside of Piedmont, that is a great producer of fruits and everything. So I start to say, okay, I'm working with humans, I'm doing wearable for humans, maybe it is time to do wearable for plants. And also for soil, because plant and soil are a unique system, okay? So means to build electronic devices for going directly to the place, listening, let the plants do the talking, listening what they have to tell us. And I will show you today, I hope, how it's possible with our technologies. And it is possible, probably you know the concept of climate smart agriculture. Climate smart agriculture means to be in the crop, in the place, with plenty of sensors, reading soil, reading crops, reading environment, and you can get the information now. The technologies are ready with drones, the tractor passing, or with satellites. So I'm talking now today mostly for wearable plant devices, for directly go to the place, but it doesn't exclude the other already very well-known technologies that we are using, satellites, images, and so on. And then we have to transmit all this data to a place where this information and this data are processed. So with possibilities of doing this in crops, in a countryside, in the middle of nowhere, where you have 0G, not 5G, okay? So you have to solve this solution, and then last but not least, you have to send everything to the end users farmers, stakeholders. And I see that we can do this in 3 different implementation steps. We must be on the ground, on the plant, putting sensors where is needed, branches, trunks in the soil. And then also we have to exchange information inside the crop. And here I will show you how the plants are talking each other. I took this idea, and after I will show you the real example from Stefano Mancuso. He's an agronomist Italian writing great books, also readable by electronic guys, so I understood something. And he gave an example that one plant in a corner of a forest has a problem. After few hours or days, the plant in the other corner of the forest sets up the countermeasures for the problem, even if it doesn't have a problem. So means that the first plant told to all the guys, there is a problem there, start to react. So I will show you how I implemented in electronics this concept for doing what we can call Internet of Plants, a plant area network, call it as you like, okay? And then everything has to be moved to the cloud, where with mobile phones, with, of course, the technologies we have today, we warn the users, the end users, with alerts, with warnings, with data. So, which are the main goals? I already started to put down there. We can, with our technologies, nowadays, I said nowadays, because some people are asking me, you are working on biomedical engineering too. Why biomedical applications are already very much advanced? Why in agriculture did not happen? It did not happen because we were not ready. The technologies, the electronics were not ready to go in a crop for several reasons that I will touch today. But now we can optimize irrigation, use of fertilizers, so decrease the emission in the nutrients, so save nutrients, to have a better control of everything. And so to optimize the use of pesticides that we have directly in our food. One very nice motto is healthy soil for healthy food. We start from the soil for having a healthy food. And so we have to, as I said, generate warnings and alarms. And we do this with a less invasive system as possible. And here I raise up an important way. Think in terms of application-driven. We don't have to push technology. Here, we don't need to push technology. Use the technology. We are now designing a silicon chip for agriculture in 180 nanometers. If I have 1 micron technology is more than enough. We don't need top-level technologies. We want not so top-level technologies because they consume less. And so we need to spread the information, elaborate the data, and to be real-time. And here I want to highlight what it means for plants real-time. For plants real-time means hours, days, okay? Not nanoseconds, okay? This is the difference. But we need big data because in the plants world, you think in seasons. You understand what is happening only if you follow the full season of it. So you have big data. If you have maybe a data each 15 minutes, if half an hour, 1 hour, but you have plenty, you will see, of sensors and data. And everything for improving the quality of our food. So which is the strategy we can apply to feed our roots, to feed our basic concepts? Exactly, to spread, to let the crop to talk, to tell us what is happening. We put sensors also in the pipes, and everything has to be sent to the end user. How we do this? Application-driven, as I said, and this is a fundamental, in fact, I really appreciate to be in the agriculture faculty. We must not be superb, Sometimes engineers, we are superb. We want to know everything. Don't do it, because we must know from the experts of the field, in this case, really the field, the needs that are different from the usual applications that we used to face, okay? And from the data, we need also to understand which are the needed feedbacks. We don't need a feedback each microsecond. We need other type of feedbacks to apply the necessary countermeasures. How and what we have to put down from our technologies. Sensors, as I said, and this is why I told you, now we are ready, because we need flexible electronics. Flexible electronics are effective not for many years. We need biocompatible. We have biocompatible. Fantastic to have biodegradable. We are also starting now to work on biodegradable electronics. You put them in the crop and you forget them. At the end of the season, you put everything together and you restart the next season. So, and transparent. To monitor a plant, you cannot hide the light. The plant will die. So you need transparent electronics. And everything must be self-powered, no batteries. So you have to avoid batteries, not only because they are not good for the soil, for the climate, but because you cannot think to have batteries spread around a crop. So we need, yes, smart electronic systems. We need also AI, because as I told you, we have a lot of data, and I will show you why. So we need these technologies applied on the edge level first, because again, we have to save power. And when we consume power, when we transmit, so we have to elaborate locally as much as possible the information, avoiding to transmit only the needed information. And to set up what you can say implant communication to the cloud. And last but not least, we must be user-friendly with the interfaces. Else, again, the end users will not use we cannot show them what we like very much, a plot with all the data, units perfect. They will tell, so what can I do with this? I just set up this year. We started in Politecnico. I founded a new master degree in agri-tech engineering. And I interviewed for setting up this master degree a lot of companies. I tell you, most of them, also top level, big companies, told me, we have nowadays already information, but we are not able to use them well. We need to have experts. This is why agri-tech engineering, but from the other side, we cannot expect to the farmers, to the end users, to become expert in engineering. They must have simple information and so user-friendly. And the two main targets of electronics applied to agriculture are ultra low power, ultra low cost. Difference with biomedical engineering. Biomedical engineering, wearable system, low power, you need it. Or implantable system, even more. But a guy pays what is needed for having a pacemaker, for saving his life. Apple tree, well, he doesn't pay directly, but the farmer will not spend 1,000 euros maybe or more for having the sensor on the apple tree. So it's not, again, financially sustainable. So this is our big challenge, to put these two things together, power and cost, very much. So if I was able to introduce you which are the main concepts, the main basics, let's start getting some results and showing you, and I start from this basic data. And here, for you young guys, I always highlight, please, do not do what is named the GIGO memory, or the GIGO, you know? garbage in, garbage out. If you put garbage in a system, you obtain garbage at the end. You obtain something, but it's garbage. So first important basic for artificial intelligence is the human intelligence to be able to collect good data. Without good data, you're out. So the good data are taken from sensors. So the sensors nowadays, business as usual, are taken by cameras and also electrochemical or chemical sensors. We have applications based on machine learning, getting images. I saw a project with, now we are also working a little bit with extreme microelectronics in the Champagne, you know, REMS, okay, you know very well. They are getting information from the crops for knowing the prediction of the production, taking out control the crop. So it is already done. And also the cameras are not only RGB, but usually they are used multispectral near-infrared signals that are needed. For example, here are some examples of ripening evaluation and everything. Another very important sensing need is what are named volatile organic compounds. Volatile organic compounds are one of the ways, I'm not an agronomist, but what I understood from the expert, that the plants use to communicate. They emit, is here ethylene, methyl jasmonate, for saying, I'm not good, something is wrong. They, to communicate, as I told you, they really communicate. They use volatile organic compounds and fungi also, both. Don't ask me which way, of course, we need an expert of it, but they use this. And so from volatile organic compounds, we can collect a huge amount of very good information. And from this, we need electrochemical chemical sensors that we know are one of the most complex and difficult sensors to deal with, because they are not so stable, they are not so selective. So there is a huge amount of research here of experts in sensors for getting and designing low cost, low power sensors for it. And this is a huge amount of possibilities. Then, again, compounds, one of the three most important compounds for the soil and for the plant are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, NPK. And again, here, there are already some commercial devices, some commercial sensors, but most of them are expensive, not so stable. So again, if you are working on some sensing part, it is absolutely I suggest you really to invest in these types of sensors, because it's really something. Last but not least, the evapotranspiration of the leaves. It is, the leaves are the ones who are setting up the chlorophyll and photosynthesis, but it also how the plant breathes. The respiration of the plant is measured through the leaves. And so listening how the leaves are breathing, it is very important. And here, leaves, transparent things. You can use hide the light to the leaves. So, if I gave you, okay, an overview of the possibility, let's go to one of the sensors in which we started a few years ago with the work I'm doing with Tel Aviv University in particular. I was 3 years visiting professor in Tel Aviv. And so you know how much in Israel are very good in doing agriculture, system for agriculture. So impedance sensor, as electrical engineers, it is a good solution because it costs almost nothing. So, and I will show you why it costs almost nothing, because we simplify, of course. It's not a Kittley 50,000 euros, okay? We need to be the lower cost. But we started to say, okay, let's see what happens if we measure by the impedance, the bioimpedance of the plant. And we had these results. We started with the simplest thing as electrical engineers on tobacco plant, white tobacco plant, because when I was in Tel Aviv, I told them, let's use the same plants that you are using here in the lab, plants that I can use in electronic lab. So I cannot use apple trees or big trees, small trees. And they told me there are two plants that are perfect, that we know everything of these two plants for several reasons, and you will understand why. One is tobacco, the other one is marijuana. Which one do you would like to put in your lab? I said, okay, if I come back to my lab, I say to my director, I put some plants of marijuana in my lab, probably will tell me no. So we decided for tobacco, because tobacco is a perfect model. It has the same behavior as fruits, apples, kiwis. I will show you examples. So it's a perfect model, useful for an electronic lab in which you have, well, sure, you do your test in your lab and after you go on the place. But before, we know that we have to spend time to set up and fix everything because exiting from our lab. And what happened? We did the first simple thing. We water and not water the plants. And we said, what happens to the impedance of the plant? And you see here. Here, this is the soil water potential. So what is measured nowadays with standard sensors and tells you soil water potential is not humidity. Because I learned that even if the soil is humid, it doesn't mean that the plant is able to get what is needed. The soil water potential tells us how the equilibrium soil-plant is good, and so the plant is able to get what is needed. And you see here, it is measured when it's 0, this is the top. When it is 0 means saturated. When you water, okay, here the soil is becoming drier, you water it, bam, it goes up. This is the modulus, the average of the modulus of the impedance. Fantastic. You see, you have this step. When you water it, real time of a plant, after 2-3 days, it goes down. But it is, you have a gradient, a clear gradient, so you see it. And here I put the average, here I put the real modulus. You see, it is periodical. We will discover later why it is periodical. In fact, I say, we are measuring the heartbeat in some way of the plant. Okay, it's different, it's not the same thing, but it's something, okay? And here is the phase, but you see, they are doing almost the same thing. We know that measuring both phases is more complex, so we are just looking to the modulus, is enough. I had other sensors that we need. Other sensors are the environmental sensors. We don't have to forget them. So light, humidity, temperature of the soil, of everything, we need environmental sensors. So one of the things that we must do, and this is big data, we must do a sensor fusion. So we must put more sensors together. The work that has to be done, and some groups are mine, but are doing, is to understand which sensors we can exclude, because we want to go low cost. So my nirvana is to have a bioimpedance, unique sensor, having everything. Will not be like this, of course. But the work is to understand which sensor you can forget, maybe depending on the application, but again, to study this, to optimize the cost and the complexity of your system. Because you see here, again, you have two plants, two examples, in which you have the watering event. I lost the, let me use it from here. You have here the watering event from two plants. Here it goes down, phase and module. And here you understand this periodical behavior. The periodical behavior is the day periodic, the periodicity of a day. You measure when the plant goes to sleep during the night and wake up in the morning and wakes up and down. So you see here, the modulus does not tell you how much is watered the plant. It tells you the activity of the plant. So we are extracting really a lot of information from this. This is why there is a lot of work to be done. And you see here, depending on the plant, this is, again, like biomedical engineering. You don't have absolute measurement. You always do relative measurements because it changes depending on the plant, the type of plant, but the behavior is always that one. And now I want to show you just 2 examples of applications in which we are working. As you can imagine, the first one is the measurement of the health of the plant. And in this case, we set up the simplest possible circuit for measuring an impedance. We did a relaxation oscillator. So we put in the loop of the oscillator the plant. Of course, the frequency, the time period that you have from your signal out, it is proportional to the modulus of the impedance. So measuring the frequency of your oscillator, you have the idea of the modulus. We are now doing, scientifically speaking, to reach exactly the value of the impedance. But in some way, you don't need it. You just need to know that if something changes, the plant changes, okay? The absolute value is not so useful, okay? So, also because, by sure, every plant will have a different frequency. All of us, we will have a different signal out of our body from our different signals. And we use LoRaWAN, low power, long range. So this is one of the most effective now, but I will spend a few words later. So here, it is the box that is very much larger than the circuit, but again, for here you are in the field, so it must be protected, sealed. The box costs maybe 10 times, 100 times more than the circuit itself. But this is what, of course, we are doing now in our lab. What told me you are on the right way was this example that happened one of the first plant. Because when we started growing plant, we were perfect killers. We were, of course, not experts, so most of the plants died. But we understood in some way this was a good, how the impedance tells us when the plant is dying. And here, in fact, you see here, we did not water this plant. And this plant was one of 4 tobacco plants monitored, similar to the other plants with green leaves. Externally, we did not see nothing special. But at one time, boom, impedance went down and after up. Wait, days, eh? Okay, you don't read them, but here are days, okay? Again, the time constants are slow. But anyhow, I let become crazy my guys, saying, you did not do that, there is something wrong, you did not put right the electrodes. They went to the field with a car. Danilo, everything is good. No, it's not possible, this is not work. Okay, at the end, what happened? This plant died. So I asked agronomists, and they told me that, of course, for them was absolutely a new behavior. And what happened? Like a guy, me, having problems, I start opening as much as I can my breathing possibilities. The plant was doing this, was decreasing the impedance, means increasing the ionic change, because these measurements are related to the ionic changes inside the plant, for surviving. The plant was telling us, I'm dying, I have a problem, and this was not possible to be seen clearly from external. Inside, few days before I knew that that plant had a problem and after died. So this told me, you are on the right way. And now we are working in this project, as I told you, for adding new sensors, the impedance sensor and a relaxation oscillator, you know, cost less than €1. Is one operational amplifier. And so this is absolutely a perfect idea. Without a big box, you can do a packaging very low cost. So it is already done this, okay? Now we are working to replace sensors for other measurements with a similar concept, so going down very much in cost. The second project I don't go too much in details. If you want, after we can discuss, but the second project, it is named Wattfruit. That was a project in my area for controlling the water. In this case, we put our sensors in the soil. We communicate through LoRa. We send to LoRa to our servers, applying an algorithm, and from the algorithm, we applied the control of the pumps for the irrigation. We did this in the field. This is the first board. It's not the final. It is just a prototype. Of course, it is a test for seeing that if it works. And now, because I will show you that work very well, I'm so happy. Now, of course, we are reducing. But in any case, we did the design of this board, low power. In fact, in 2 years, we did not have to change the batteries. Else, also here, we are using batteries. I don't want to use batteries. So there is still a lot of work to be done. But at least this was able to tell us that the idea is working. And we use one Kitley 50,000 euros sensor is a Teros 21, cost 300 euros. That is a huge amount of money, but we wanted to have good data, okay, to work on. And in parallel also, we use a low cost, a Teros 11 that costs less, but also now we are working to do something better. Anyhow, we use these sensors. From the other side, of course, again, we set up a circuit for controlling the pumps. What happened? What it happened is, in the first season, so 2022, we just did a simulation, but a real simulation. So all the system was up and running. Simply, we did not switch on the pumps, because we were in 3 different fields of 3 different farmers, and we had 3 rows for each crop. And we, in principle, watered automatically our part. The farmers were watering the other part for having, as you know, the comparison, the validation of our methodology. In the first year, just to avoid to destroy 3 rows, but it is not good to destroy and to check if everything was running, we just did simulation. And the simulations already told us that we were on the right way, because you see here, the blue and the orange are the soil water potential sensors of the crops irrigated by the farmers. And you see here that in some periods they had problems in water. In that season, Piedmont was the driest region in Europe. So there was a really huge problem. And in some other period, they watered too much. The green one is what we will do. Of course, this is a simulation, a model, perfect. But the model said, okay, you can go ahead. The black one is a line where if you don't water is a simulation. If you don't water, of course, the crop will die. Anyhow, this was the first year. The second year, this is the result. And in this case, this is one of the 3 crops. We have similar results in respect to the other ones. These are apples of type Galaval. You see here, at the end of the season, we water 870 meter cube per hectare, and the farmers watered almost the double. So, real time, we saved half of the water. And the behavior is nice because, you know, in June, we really water very much. In July was needed. In August, we water almost the same. September, strange. In fact, the results of September, the first time I said, there is something wrong. The agronomist studied and told me, no, you did right. Because in September, the farmers harvested everything. So by business as usual, they stopped watering. But September last year in Piedmont was again very hot. So the agronomist told me, the plants in September not watered, they suffered. Probably next season, in fact, I'm very curious for next season. Next season, these plants will produce less. Your plants were happy. So probably next year they will be better than the ones that were not watered. So in September, you did a good job, even if you spend more water. But if you sum everything, at the end, we save half of the water. But you can tell me, yes, you save half of the water, but how was the production? The production was, of course, we measured, we had also sensors, I did not show you, for the dimension, some dimension of fruits. The dimensions of our fruits were in average 78 millimeter. And the rules are between 75 and 80 millimeter. So absolutely same quality. And also, of course, we asked to weight our production in respect to the standard way, and it was similar. I can say that also they did some glucose content test. Our fruits were sweeter because we put less water. So in principle, also they were better. For me, I don't want to be better. I want to be similar. Is enough. Because we demonstrated really. In fact, I tell you, and we saved 56% of water. The best demonstration I had that we were okay. The project finished in October. 3 years of work ended. It was funded by Piedmont region. I asked to the farmers, the project is finished. I amount everything. They told me, no, don't do it. Well, I like to have my data. So I'm collecting data. I'm collecting very good information. But I was scared to say, okay, they tell me, go out. I don't want to see you anymore. They told me, no, don't touch anything. Give it, leave it. So it was the best results, I tell you. So this is what we can do in terms of sensors. Let's see something about networking. A crazy idea I had with Yossi Shacham, Tel Aviv University, to say, if they communicate, why we don't try to use the plant like a wire? And we were able to transmit in 2017 50 kilobits per second inside the plant. So the idea is to put sensors around the plant. We don't need any infrastructure. We use the plant. We put on the bottom of the plant a collector. The collector can be a box with a solar cell, with something quite powerful, and send out the data. So we can use the plant. But I said, yes, but if they talk each other, do they really talk? Are they interconnected? Because you can expect they don't communicate by radio frequency, the plants, of course. They use other methods. But we put on one plant, was a tobacco plant, a transmitter. The transmitter is our ring oscillator, relaxation oscillator, our relaxation oscillator, and we transmit the frequency inside the plant. We put inside the plant directly the frequency. Powered by a solar cell. We want also to demonstrate that we don't need batteries. And we transmit it, and this is the frequency, the values of the frequency received on a second plant, the closed plant. Here, I don't have to teach you this, frequency inversely proportional to impedance. So here the frequency goes up when is watered. So it's, of course, complementary to the impedance. Anyhow, it doesn't matter. But this is what I measured in the second plant in terms of frequency. So it is the frequency that was transmitted by first plant. And the second plant, we put a receiver powered by a plant microbial fuel cell. So we get power from the soil. We were surprised because you get some microwatts that are more than enough, put in 2 pieces of metal in the right way, and you get power. So it was fantastic. And in this case, there are also some groups in Italy specifically working on this. I'm not expert in this, in electrochemical batteries, but some people are working on it to improve. So we demonstrated that they talk each other. And here, what was very good, and we publish here in the new transactions that I will show you, so you see here, it passes through the soil because it's passing through these microbes, this microbial, let's say, part of the soil, and it reaches the other plant. But also what is good here, that you also have in parallel the measurement of the impedance of the path, because you know the attenuation of the signal that you receive is proportional to the impedance. So in parallel, you transmit information and you have also information of the impedance. So this is the way how we are thinking to simplify everything and extract all what is needed. Okay, now, of course, I'm almost at the end. What we have to do also is to use something from the crop, from the field to go out. And as I told you, nowadays, in my opinion, the best way is LoRa, also Sigfox, the French, narrowband communication is also very effective, but almost because, the Sigfox has some problems. Now the winner in this competition is LoRa for agriculture, so it's very effective, and we are using this. We must use artificial intelligence and big data, as I said, for robots. I mentioned the monitoring. I did not mention too much predictive analytics, but also here you can predict what happens, but my message is you must be patient because you need seasons, not seasons to understand something, okay? You can start now, of course, doing something, but your guesses will be guesses not so precise. We are starting, we are having decent results, but to have very good results, you need time. Also, because I gave you an example, what we did in September will have an effect in next year. So these are the time constants of what we have in front of us. But, and last but not least, what also is, for me, I did not expect it, also blockchain can be useful in agriculture because you have to protect the data. Now, and this is an important point for us, because we, as electrical engineers, we always think to improve performances. In this case, one need in the future will be certification, validation of the chain of the production. So these systems will be useful for optimizing resources, everything, but also to certify for the producer that is saying, I am biological. Yes, but if I put a sensor in the soil, I know if you are biological or not. You don't have to tell me. I know it. So now I know, I'm talking with Piedmont region, also with EU, they will set up requests to do not just trust what I'm saying. They will pretend measurements. But, of course, I was yesterday and 2 days ago in Brussels. The tractors blocked the European Parliament. I don't know if you read in the news. We were close to the Parliament. It was full of tractors. During our meeting, it was impossible to talk because we were tractors making noise. Okay, so, and in some way, they are right, because some of the requests now are not applicable in terms of financial sustainability, as I said. We can really give a great help. This is what I see. So I don't want to say that it's not important to do not do the rules, because no, we need these rules, else we are in troubles for the future. But we have to work for letting sustainable these rules. But nowadays, some of them are not. And we can do, okay, let's be a little bit superb, but in this case, we can give a great help in it. Like we did in biomedical engineering. Imagine what electronics was helpful for medicine. So I want to finish now showing to you, if you want, and you want to start, or you are already working in this, maybe I remember, or I tell you the initiative of CAS Society, but not only of CAS Society. I worked for 1 year and a half for setting up a new journal that started 2023, January 23. We had the first 2 issues. Now we are exiting with a new issue of this year. And this is the journal, because I was working in agriculture and did not find in IEEE a journal to publish. They say, you are not IEEE. No, I'm doing electronics. But you don't publish in IEEE journal because it doesn't exist. So I said, okay, I set up a new one. And I did it. So for my own use. No, okay. It was absolutely a pleasure to do it and to share it. Also because now as editor-in-chief, I cannot publish in my journal. So in some way, but I'm happy of what I did. So the key points are the ones that I already mentioned. And again, it's important, the journal is application-driven. You must have the application. If you do a sensor for soil, is IEEE Sensors Journal. If you do an algorithm for processing the data, it is for some journal in computer science. Here, TAFE, Transaction on Agri-Food Electronics, is a journal for application. You must have a system, Circuits and Systems Society. It is sponsored by Sensors Council, by CRFID, and Instrumentation and Measurement. There are 4 financial sponsors. So also the interest are, but in this journal, you must publish something that is already at application level. And we had 2 events. One is WAFE, the workshop on agri-food electronics. The second one is a conference that, of course, the guys told me, you invented it, so you do the first edition in Torino. So we did CAFE. The name, I give the merit to Uruguayan, to Matthias Miguez. He was the one saying, we had TAFE, we have WAFE, we can have CAFE, Conference on Agri-Food Electronics. And so we did it in Torino. And this year, if you are interested, now the submissions are open. We do it in Xanthi in Greece this year. We did also inside CAFE, IAFE, the Industry for Agri-Food Electronics. After that I said IAFE, the vice president in conferences tell me, Danilo, stop. CAFE, IAFE, WAFE, okay, end of it. I said, okay, it's enough, okay? So, but now we have all the, let's say, the platforms, all the possibility to publish and to exploit what we did in our works. And last but not least, I want to highlight you the special interest group. It is from CAS Society, but we have agronomists, we have chemists, we have all, because it's really a multidisciplinary connection. We exchange ideas. The chair is Victor Grimblatt, a great friend from Synopsys. My vice secretary, you know, Francois Baishour, is one of the guys who really helped and did a lot of contributions for all what we did in agri-food electronics. And that's it. I hope that it was interesting, that I was able to transmit you the messages of what we can do in agri-food electronics. I know here you are expert in radio frequency, in analog electronics. If you want, you have open fields, in fact, really open fields, but in possibilities to exploit what we are doing and you are doing in your daily research. Thank you so much. So if you have questions or curiosities, I'm here.
Thank you, Professor. And as you said, if you have any questions, feel free to ask us, even on the line. So,
please.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the very inspiring talk. And actually, I have a question which is not really very related to the scientific content, but to the timeline.
Okay.
We have here an agricultural school, and we have a research lab in the area of agriculture, and some of these people also working, for instance, on the nitrite content and so on over the years and so on. And the cycle is 1 year for because of the seasons. And in France, PhD is 3 years, everything included. So we have a lot of difficulty doing really complete research inside one PhD, right?
Yes,
So I just wanted to know how you handle such kind of difficulty, which is specific to this domain. But we do also have problems with integrated circuit, because nowadays sometimes you need a year to get a circuit fabricated by a foundry. But especially in agriculture, it's very different from some other topics, like in computer science or also in physics, when you publish a new paper every 2-3 months or so. How you comment on that timeline, which is very different from our current time perception, which we have a new idea, it must be ready in 2-3 months.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, absolutely, the question is perfect. You cannot avoid it. So really is a matter of investing resources, thinking that you need time. And by sure, you see, in 2 years we were able to do and to have good results. So I guess that you have to start to the simplest. And there are some watering, you see, in a few days you see. So there are possibilities of having some applications in which you can have in a reasonable time, again, a year or 2 years, reasonable results, but again, as you said, but it's not enough. You must continue. It's not finished. It's just started. So the strategy, it is exactly to talk with agronomists, to talk the people who know needs, and the interaction is fantastic, but it's very complex because, you know, we are talking really different languages. So, and I work a lot with medical doctors. Even medicine is more complex because agronomy is even much more far from our crude, our raw technology, okay? So, by sure, what I can suggest, the first investment is to sit down, not in 1 hour, but to sit down weeks or months with agronomists and to become enough experts to be able to find the compromises. Here, I will never measure an impedance with accuracy or precision of 0.1%. Nobody cares. I just maybe 10% is enough. So the great work, fundamental to avoid to discover after that you are wasting time, is to design your strategy, understanding depending on your capabilities. I cite RF, radio frequency, remote measurement, but close to the plant, not satellite, close to the plant are fantastic. Because you can really measure the impedance, you teach me this. For example, one thing that is interesting is to understand when the plants they have some illnesses, you know, where they lose material inside. Holes are created inside the plant. Externally, you don't see them with radio frequency, you see them perfectly. And you can do it with low-cost things. And again, you can optimize. So maybe you do one measurement per day, or putting down the consumption. But again, talking with the experts, they guide you and you guide them. Because as always, with medical doctors was always fantastic. I'm giving you a very simple things, engineer, do it. They said, to do this is very complex. It's complicated. I need a lot of time and money. Sometimes I have an impossible thing. But I say, no, this is stupid. I do it in few minutes. Okay? So, and here is the same. So they don't have idea of how much can be complex. Also because what is guiding them in a wrong way? Mobile phones. In mobile phone, you do very complex things. We said, okay, it's already the mobile phone. Yes, but do you know the complexity of a mobile phone applied to an Apple III? Okay, so my suggestion is to start sitting with experts of the field and understanding which are your capabilities to be applied, because, and from the other side, talking about young guys, I see now a golden era for startups, because you see, my guys are thinking to do it because this value impedance, low cost, it seems very interesting. So there are plenty of possibilities. In fact, also I see in Italy have grown new startup on this field, because really the market is not covered. There are already a lot of commercial systems, but not so used, because really the farmers cannot sustain us. So I tell you, yes, you're perfectly right, but what I'm doing, I tell you my shoulders, I'm starting to consider these things that are almost immediate. In parallel, I'm investing on the long-term things. So you have to do a really strategy on, and again, another, and we know nowadays, which is the richest result of our works, the data. So collect data, because the data will be my treasure. And this is why I'm happy that the farmers don't want that I unmount everything, because I'm collecting data. This data will be precious. Because we don't have data on this. We have few data from few years, but also the collection of data is another thing that I suggest you. With the best ways that you can see. Yes.
Thank you for your very interesting talk, Professor. I have another question that is not so technical, but how do you find how farmers are open to install electronics in their fields?
Yes.
Because it's how they gain money, so they don't want to change everything.
Yes.
So how do you convince them to do that, or how it's hard to get them to agree?
Great question also. Skepticism is high. What is good? Young generations are taking the lead of the farms. So the young generations are the ones that used to use this. With the previous generations, it's almost impossible. But now, and also FAO is doing this. You have to do what, in a simple example we did. These three farmers told me, don't unmount it. I convinced them. I convinced them that I was effective. So you convince them by real example. This is why I put strongly the highlight on application. So you convince them if you show them that it works. St. Thomas, San Tommaso, we say in Italy, one wanted to touch really the end users. So they are like St. Thomas. Okay? So from the other side, as I told you, another point, they are starting to understand that the regulations, sooner or later, will arrive from the top, asking real data, not just trust. Okay, so it's in fact in the projects I'm submitting for the European project. I always put one task: acceptance. So the acceptance is a must. So we have to invest a lot in acceptance. And FAO is doing all around the world demonstration sites for showing to farmers that some technologies, I'm talking about electronics, but also chemical technologies, other mechanical, systems are helpful, okay? But FAO also has one of the targets to convince the farmers. So you are right, but again, I had some good signs, okay? And also the fact that now also Politecnico di Milano, in Italy, talking about Italy, Politecnico di Milano started last year a master in agri-tech engineering. We started this year. I tell you, it was 2 or 3 years that I was saying to my rector, it is time, and after Politecnico di Milano did it before us. And I said to my rector, listen, for one time we were in the bus and we were late. But okay, enough, you know that it's like the Paris Saint-Germain, I don't know the other team of Paris. Okay, the second team, the derby, okay. We, Torino and Milan, we are competitors. Okay, it's great friends in Milan because we are always joking. But I tell you also these signs, these needs from the companies asking experts. So starting to have experts in technology working in the farms, it will help, of course, to acceptance of these technologies. But it's another work, absolutely done. Please.
So thank you for the talk. A question about the application.
Yes.
That you showed. You went from tobacco plants inside your lab to open field for apple tree.
Yes.
Why not going to a greenhouse
Yes.
crop, like in the middle, maybe, where maybe this kind of solution is more sooner to be suitable for this risky environment?
You are right, perfectly right. But to go to greenhouses, the challenge is lower. So in terms of science, if you are able to do it in a crop, in the outside, it is not controlled. So it is, you have more challenges, but if you solve the challenges, you have better solutions. That if you solve the problems outside, you are ready to solve this. So yes, we were a little bit superb, maybe. We wanted to do one step, but for example, now I'm setting up a new lab where we were buying 5 climate chambers. So that sort of, because also now we want to also do this half step. I have some cooperation with the University of Torino, with the agronomists, where we have our system, or in Bolzano, in Torino, we already have some systems in greenhouses. So we are already working in greenhouses. What I want to show here, it is the highest, but right, this is absolutely a step that is useful sometimes. For example, in my lab, we started having these tobacco plants in the lab. Simply mosquitoes. We had the lab full of mosquitoes because of these plants. So, and now, after we set up a small, very simple greenhouse inside my lab. So in some way, we did this half step for your perfect right. Absolutely, I suggest. Also because, when we started from scratch and we were too optimistic, we did not understand what is happening because light, temperature, wind, everything is affecting the plant. So we had too many things together. So you're right. To understand something, the step of greenhouse, of control the environment. Please.
Just a question about the technology.
Yeah.
You mentioned people should rely on old technologies
Yes.
for cost reasons.
Yes.
So do you think there's a place for more advanced technologies due to the volume that can be behind all this?
Yes.
And for
IMEC, IMEC is enough facility investing a lot of millions for other.
okay.
I went
Flexible?
what
Flexible things
for silicon chips.
Okay.
I was invited at the VLSI ASICON in China to do this talk. or ESIC, a conference on the design. So, and we have a project in which I have one PhD working on a silicon chip for agriculture. Because the actual silicon chips are useful, but there are some specific requests that have no ultra low power. You need a mix of analog, digital together, but optimized. You cannot mount. What I learned from people expert in LCA, so in sustainability, they told me a silicon chip in principle is not sustainable, but in a crop, to have few silicon chips, they contain metals. In the ground you have, in the soil you have metals. In the plants you have metals. So it is concentrated, but if you do very small silicon chips, and you can do small silicon chips, the impact on the environment is negligible, and so you can consider it biocompatible for the application. So to use paper substrates, of course, we cannot use PCB substrate or standard. So this one flexible, but not only flexible, it's also types of material that are the substrates of the largest part, minimizing the use of chips. But because you have to minimize the chips, you have to have chips that do the right work. And so there is again another open end again to embed antennas that you need, or to need or something which you transmit inside the transmitters. So what we are studying in our case is exactly to understand which are the needed sensors for understanding which are the readout circuits I have to put inside the silicon chip. And this is again a work. And we are also working on digital side, because you cannot have a microprocessor. You have to optimize everything in terms of consumption. So again, also there is a space, but I tell you, I saw a real investment from people who know what we do. So, yes. Good, thank you. Please.
So in the examples, you see the watering
Yes.
of the plants. I guess maybe it's like a high frequency cycle for the plant. So then it takes weeks or a month. But, is it like, can you do the same thing with like a fertilizer?
Yeah.
Manure?
Absolutely.
But maybe maybe even longer time scope, or maybe not?
No. I tell you, I started from the water simply because it's the simplest approach. But recently I went to the farmers. They already have the mixing, automatic mixing of fertilizers with the water. So, but you need more sensors. So, as we have to do in research, one step after the other. So, I wanted to understand if it was working with water. Now, you spoiled me, because the next step is exactly this: to have sensors for fertilizers, sensors for nutrients, sensors for pesticides. So, and to optimize the mixing of the nutrients with the water, because from the plant you know how the plant feels, and so you can understand to push to send more nutrients or less nutrients. So, and again, of course, we electrical engineers, we all percentages, you need the full support of agronomists to tell you what you have to do. But absolutely yes, it is. But in fact, in a project I submitted for Italian government, Italian Ministry of Agriculture, we started to talk of fertilization. So there is already a specific name, it is fertilization. So that is the step, the next step. Thank you. Please.
Maybe, I don't know.
No, well, for me,
Do you have a question?
for me, it is even more interesting now than before.
It's just, how about the attractivity of field to future engineers.
Yes.
Is it, you opened a new
Yes.
master's degree and you have PhD students.
Yes. Okay, we open this year, we have 20 students. Milano had 30. So for us is not a high number. I teach biomedical engineering, I have classes of 200 students. So, yes, Italy, Politecnico di Torino, these are the numbers. So are low numbers, but also my vice rectors and rectors, of course, he said is an investment. But I tell you one thing. The 8th of March, we did an event for our students for socializing, showing to the world our new master, and we invited companies to come. And the message for the companies, I asked the companies, you come here for telling to the students, I need you. I need you, because I want to collect more students. Okay, we had 12 companies, and I had to cut people for 20 students. So I said to the students, each of you at least have about one company, okay? So I have a huge request from companies. In the moment, you are right, and the companies told me, the most frequent question that I receive is, but what I will do in your company? Because you're right, the culture of the job of an engineer in this field is still not so clear. There are, and I discovered, for example, in Iran, they have already from years agri-tech engineering. And in most of the outside world, probably also out of France, I don't know in France, but agronomy is engineering faculty.
It is in France.
Same in France. You see. So you are more advanced in this case culturally as us. We, for some reason in Italy, was split. Agronomists are more humanities, biology, or this.
We do have a split because all the agronomy schools, engineering schools depend on the Ministry of Agriculture, and all the other depend on the Ministry of Higher Education. So there is a split between the two communities. And here you're in a building which was an agronomy, private agronomy school. So they still have very strong this culture, but they don't know much about electronics and mechanics and all that stuff.
So
it's the merging of competencies, which is not so easy. And I was wondering how attractive when you're talking, it's very, very interesting. So and like we're trying to communicate from one plant to the other through the soil. We have similar problems or subjects in bioengineering, for instance. Of course, but somehow it gives an image of low tech.
yes.
Okay, which could is on the other side, you have to talk about silicon chips. You also have this very, very high tech agricultural business industry. They're doing robots and things with I don't know how much AI processors and satellite images and so on. So it is a big means
yes.
to go into the field. And so here it looks so very minimalistic. Okay.
Yes, exactly. But in fact, as I said, one thing doesn't exclude the other, but there is a huge market for this minimalistic. Because if you want to go in the field, you must be minimalistic, else you are not sustainable. So this is why I see a great possibility. I tell you, I was convinced, sometimes maybe dream, no? As a scientist, sometimes they call us crazy scientists, okay? So you are, but when I saw this World Economic Forum saying one of the technologies, I said, people are starting really, also experts, not only in economy, they started to see. In fact, I had one of my PhD is funded by Vodafone. Because Vodafone also started to see a business that is not business as usual, it's a different business, but a huge business. Because imagine if you start to spread devices inside crops, imagine how many are needed. And also system electronics, I know they are starting to come. I have another student from PhD, now is in Catania, in system electronics, for a cooperation with the state. So, again, it's not easy going. Also, the fact of this new figure, the new professional figure of the agri-tech engineer, in the real meaning, as you said, also here, is here, but it's not really the mix, okay? Or better, I always use this example. Biomedical engineering, when I was young, I was doing biomedical, and I was starting my PhD, one of the first courses in biomedical engineering. We started in Torino, first course in Italy on microelectronics for biomedical applications. People were saying, you are crazy, what are you doing? Is not, we have to do it in the future. But they say, now it's clear that, thank you for coming here.
Thank you very much, Danilo. I'm sorry.
No, don't mind. Thank you. See you next time.
Thank you.
It was great.
Enjoy the time in there.
Thank you.
Get in touch with you.
Absolutely.
Bye. Thank you.
So, think it is absolutely the same concept. A medical doctor and a biomedical engineer. I will never ask a biomedical engineer to treat me, but I will never ask a medical doctor to design my pacemaker. Okay? So are two different professional figures. In biomedical engineering arrived before, because there was the technology started to be invasive, and so the medical doctor started to not be able to deal with. They need a biomedical engineer inside the surgery room for understanding what it is. In agriculture, it is happening the same. I spoke with cooperatives, and they tell me, I need at least one or two of them, because they have to go to our customers, our stakeholders, to help them in the technology. Because that technology is becoming invasive, yes, with top industries, high cost and everything. And also they told me, I need a technician that can understand the technology, because they are selling me things that sometimes I discover later that are useless. So it's also important for them to have someone who can understand, like Redskins, the history of cowboys was selling, what were they saying, mirrors, okay, to the Redskins. So similar things. So they need to have these professional figures. And again, it's a way of, but I see good signs. And this is why I tell you, we are in a sort of golden era for young people, maybe to think to set up a company that can be useful. So, well, I'm happy we spend any more time for the discussion, so it's a great sign, and we are really happy about it. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Report for being here today. I think that we end there. And see you next time for next event. Thank you.
Thank you very much.